Run your hand along the corner of an old barn beam sometime. Find the spot where two timbers meet, where one piece of oak disappears into another. Look close. You will not find a nail. You will not find a screw. You will not find a single drop of glue. And yet that joint has held the weight of 100-foot roof through 200 winters, through ice storms and August heat, through the kind of wind that flattens new houses in an afternoon. It has not loosened. It has not pulled apart. If anything, it is tighter today than the morning it was cut. There is a single joint at the heart of that barn. One way of fitting two pieces of wood together that does not rely on metal, does not rely on chemistry, and does not rely on anything you would have to buy more of. The Amish still cut it by hand. Their grandfathers cut it. And the men who dug the oldest wells on this earth, 7,000 years before the Amish were a people, cut it too. After my last video, a great many of you wrote to me with the same question. You said, Amos, you keep telling us the old buildings were built better, show us the thing itself. Show us the one piece. So I went out to a barn that was raised before my own grandfather was born, and I put my hands on the joint that holds it up, and I am going to show you exactly how it works. Before this video is over, I am going to show you a building still standing after 1,300 years that was put together this same way, with no iron in it at all, and I am going to show you the year, and the men who decided you should forget how to do this. Stay with me. The joint has a plain name. It is called a mortise and tenon. Say it slowly. A mortise is a hole. A tenon is a tongue. You cut a square hole into one timber and you carve the end of the other timber down into a tongue that fits that hole. That is the whole idea. One piece reaches into the other. They become, in a way, a single piece of wood again. But here is where it gets interesting. A tongue in a hole on its own will pull right back out. Anyone can see that. So the old builders did one more thing, and this one thing is the entire secret. They bored a round hole straight through the side of the timber, through the hole and through the tongue inside it. Then they drove a peg into it. A wooden peg. Hand-split oak, never a sawn dowel from a store. And that peg locked the tongue inside the hole forever. Now think about that for a second. Think about what is holding that building up. It is not steel. It is a stick of oak the thickness of your thumb. But the way it is set is the genius of the thing, and almost nobody alive knows this part. When the builder bored the hole through the tongue, he did not line it up perfectly with the hole in the outer timber. He set it back. Just a little. The width of a fat pencil line, no more. So when he drove that tapered peg through, the peg could not go straight. It had to bend just slightly to find its way. And in bending, it pulled. It dragged that tongue deeper into the hole and clamped the shoulder of the joint shut, bone tight, and held it there under tension for the rest of its life. The old carpenters had a word for it. They called it draw boring. The peg draws the joint closed. Not a coating, not a fastener, not glue. A tension built into the wood itself that never lets go. There is a reason a drawboard joint does not even need glue, and the men who tested it in laboratories will tell you the same. Once that peg is set, the wood would have to break before the joint would open. And here is the part that should make you stop and look at every nail in your own house. That peg is made of the same thing as the timbers around it, the same oak. So when the seasons turn and the damp of spring swells the wood and the dry of winter shrinks it again because wood breathes, wood is alive that way, it takes on water and gives it back every single year the peg moves with it. They swell together. They shrink together. They are one material, so they keep the same time. Now think about what a nail does in that same wall. A nail is iron. Iron does not breathe. When the wood swells around it, it crushes against the nail. When the wood shrinks, it pulls away and leaves a gap. Year after year, swell and shrink, the hole around that nail grows wider until one day you can pull it out with 2 fingers. And worse, the iron rusts. It draws moisture to itself and the rust eats into the wood around it and the wood goes soft and dark and crumbling. The carpenters have an old name for that too. They call it nail sickness. A nail joint begins dying the day it is driven. A pegged joint made all of one wood has no quarrel with itself. It just holds. I want you to understand how old this idea truly is, because this is not an Amish invention, and I would not lie to you and say it was. We kept it. We did not start it. In the year 2012, a team of researchers in Germany pulled timbers out of the wet ground near the city of Leipzig. They had found the linings of 4 wells, dug down into the earth and held back with squared oak. They counted the rings in that oak and they ran the dating, and the answer came back that stops your breath. Those timbers were felled between 5,400 and 5,100 years before the birth of Christ, more than 7,000 years ago, the oldest worked wood ever found standing by the hand of man. And when they cleaned the mud off those 7,000-year-old timbers, they found mortise and tenon joints, the same hole, the same tongue, cut with tools of stone and bone by people who had no metal at all, no written word, no wheel that we know of, and they cut the same joint the Amish cut today. We did not invent it. Nobody did. It is simply the true way wood wants to be joined, and every people who ever built to last found their way to it. Go to the far side of the world and you find it again. In Japan there stands a temple called Horyuji. Its great hall and its 5-story tower were raised more than 1,300 years ago, around the time of the year 600. They are the oldest wooden buildings still standing anywhere on the earth. And in all that timber, holding up all that weight through 13 centuries of earthquakes that have leveled the stone and steel buildings around them, there is not one nail, not one. Wood cut to fit wood, locked with wood, that is all. So when an Amish barn goes up in a single day, with the whole community swinging mallets and the old men calling the joints, we are not doing something clever or strange. We are doing the oldest sure thing there is. The frame of that barn is oak, cut green and shaped wet because green oak cuts easier and then dries down hard as iron around the joint and tightens for 50 years after. Post and beam, mortise and tenon, every joint pegged. No steel in the bones of it. Raise it right, keep the rain off the top of it, and it will stand for your grandchildren's grandchildren. 200 years is not a hope. It is the ordinary, expected life of the thing. Now here is the part that should make you angry, and I am going to be careful and fair about it, because the truth is bad enough without me dressing it up. You might ask, if this joint is so good, if it has held for 7,000 years, why is there not a single one in the house you are sitting in right now? Why did they stop? They stopped because it is slow. That is the whole of it, and it is uglier for being so simple. To cut a mortise and tenon by hand takes a skilled man the better part of an hour for one joint, and a barn has hundreds. It takes a trained eye and a trained arm and years to learn. And in the 1800s, as the cities grew hungry for houses faster than skilled men could be made, somebody worked out that you could skip all of it. You could take thin, light boards, milled all the same size by a machine, and simply nail them together in a cage. They called it balloon framing and later platform framing, and it is how nearly every house in America has been thrown up ever since. A crew can stand the walls of a house in a day. No joints, no skill, just boards and nails and a hammer, and now a nail gun that fires 10 a second. And here is the year I told you to wait for. In the 1950s, a man patented a flat steel plate covered in spikes. They call it a truss plate, or by its trade name, the gang nail, and you press it into the seam where 2 boards cross, and it bites them together in one stroke. With that plate, the roof of a house could be machine-stamped in a factory by men who had never cut a joint in their lives. It went everywhere. It is over your head right now, almost certainly, holding your own roof up with a stamped piece of tin and 100 little spikes. I want to be honest with you because the breathless videos will tell you this was a conspiracy, and it was not, and I will not insult you with that. No man in a dark room decided to rob you of the mortise and tenon. It was money, and it was speed, plain as that. A nailed house is cheaper this year. It goes up faster, it needs no craftsman, it sells sooner. The joint that lasts 200 years and the joint that lasts 30 years cost the builder about the same to walk away from, and only one of them he can build in an afternoon. So that is the one he builds. The cost of the difference does not land on him. It lands on you and on your children who will pay to fix or tear down what he stood up cheap. That is not a conspiracy. It is just a bill sent to the future with your name on it. Now, if you are sitting there thinking this is all very fine for barns and temples, but it has nothing to do with you, a person who is never going to raise an oak frame, stay with me, because this next part is for you, and you can do it this very weekend on a workbench. The drawboard mortise and tenon is not only for barns. It is the strongest way there is to join two pieces of wood at a corner, and it works just as well on a garden gate, a workbench, a bed frame, a heavy door, a chair that your grandchildren will still be sitting in. Anything you want to outlast you, and it costs you nothing but a little time and a scrap of oak. Here is the whole of it. Take your two pieces. On the end of the first, you cut a tongue, the tenon, about a third the thickness of the wood with clean square shoulders. On the second piece, you cut the matching hole, the mortise, a hair tighter than the tongue, so it goes home snug. Test the fit dry. It should take a gentle tap. Now the part most people never learn. Bore your peg hole through the side of the mortise piece first, while the tongue is out. Then push the tongue back in and mark through that hole onto the tongue, but when you bore the tongue, move your mark just a 1/16 of an inch toward the shoulder. That 1/16 of an inch is the entire trick. It is the draw bore. Split your peg from a dry block of straight-grained oak. Split it, do not saw it, because split wood follows the grain and will not shear. Whittle one end to a gentle point. Drive it through. You will feel it catch and fight, and then pull the joint slamming shut as it passes the offset. No clamp, no glue, no drying time. The moment that peg is through, the joint is done, and it is done for 100 years. I will be honest with you about the limits, the way I always am, because a man who only tells you the good half is selling you something. This joint is for stout wood. On thin, delicate furniture stock, that 1/16 of an inch of draw can split the piece, so you ease it to a 32nd, or you skip the draw and peg it straight. It takes practice. Your first one will be ugly, and you should cut 3 before you trust one. And the joint, mighty as it is, does not make the wood immortal. Nothing does. Keep the rain off it and keep it out of the wet ground, because what kills old timber is never the joint, it is water and rot, and time enough of both. Keep it dry, and that joint will bury you, and your children and theirs. The knowledge was never lost. That is what I want you to take from this. It was set down, set aside quietly, because there was no money in teaching a man to do for himself in an hour what a factory could sell him to do in a minute. You were not given it. The men who built this country with their hands had it and used it, and then we stopped handing it down, and a stamped steel plate took its place over your head. But it was written in 7,000-year-old oak, and it is written in a temple that has outlived empires, and now it is written here, and you have it again. So this weekend, go and find an old building, a real old one, and look at a corner of it and find the peg. Put your thumb on it. 7,000 years of men are under your thumb in that moment. If you are the kind of person who believes that real knowledge has been quietly pushed aside to protect someone else's profit, you already know what to do. Drop the year your house was built in the comments, and tell me, pegs or nails, and I will tell you what that means for what is holding it up. I read every single one. Next time, I am going to show you the Amish way of seasoning that green oak so it dries hard instead of cracking. The trick with water and time that the lumberyards will not tell you because they need you to buy the kiln-dried board. Subscribe so you do not miss it. Go careful, build true, and remember, the people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only just starting to remember.